It's time for Ask Your Auntie, the show that gets real with teen girls about life. They ask, and we answer with tea. Tools for excellence and achievement. The goal? To help girls make better decisions in real time. When you can't ask your mom or G-Ma, ask your auntie. Now here's your host, Marissa Terrell, Esquire.
Got questions? Ask your auntie. I'm Marissa Terrell, but you can call me Auntie M, and I'm director of the High Tea Society Foundation and host of this podcast, Ask Your Auntie, where we provide teen girls with reliable answers to their questions. So let's meet our guest for today. Hey, Auntie Kristi.
Hey.
Welcome to Ask Your Auntie.
Oh, thanks for having me.
So we reconnected, about a year ago when I was doing this series called The Fashion and Tell.
Fabulous series.
Thank
I miss
you.
it.
Thank you. Can't wait to do it again. And you came in there and waved your magic wand and turned this event into something glamorous.
That's what I do.
Tell us what you do.
So, in a nutshell, I am a creative director, and I know that's a term that's thrown around rather loosely these days. I'm actually a multidisciplinary designer, and what that means is I'm a designer in a lot of different disciplines and genres that include fashion, experiential design, event design, interior design, both commercial and residential, and lifestyle design.
Wow.
So my agency, my design house is called Kristi Love Creative LLC.
Okay. So you must be constantly pulling from yourself and other places to grab this imagination and wield it to something that your clients can appreciate.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm constantly collecting images, sounds, colors, experiences, feelings. I've done it all my life. I'm an observer.
Oh, wow.
So, as a kid, my family jokes because I didn't really talk much. I didn't really start talking until I was about 13 or 14.
Oh, Lord, they couldn't get me to stop talking.
But it's because I was just soaking it all in. And I'm still a bit of a sponge when it comes to those things because all that stuff that I take in, it feeds my source, my well, that I draw from through using my imagination for my job and what I do.
I love that. So for all our sugars out there who are quiet, maybe a little shy, that's okay. It's okay to be exactly who you are. So I also agree that it's so important to develop an aesthetic, even as a child. And I remember my high school bedroom and how I worked so hard to make it like a special place for me. I spent a lot of time there because of my mouth. I was constantly being told to go to your room.
Are you serious?
Yes. My mom would be
You're
looking
such
up.
a demure little thing.
Whatever. It was something about these eyes flashing, and my mom would be like, oh, I already know what you're thinking. Go upstairs to your room. So what did your room look like? I bet it was, what was it like?
My room was very eclectic, much like it is now, like my apartment is now. And it was ever-changing because my room was kind of like my place to experiment and kind of express visually, what I wanted to do. And my mom gave me total license to do so.
Nice.
And so it was very creative and imaginative.
What color?
Well, it was the 80s, right? Well, 80s and early 90s. So it was like I had this really cool white modern furniture that my mom picked out. It was my 13th birthday gift.
Okay.
When I got back from summer vacay, she had bought all new furniture for my room. So it was white and it was modern. And then I would take really cool posters that I got from art galleries and like Disney World and actually, I got this really great poster of Donald Duck from Disney World, but I didn't want it just there. I cut it up into pieces and made it explode all over my wall.
Exactly.
So Donald Duck was like exploding all over my wall. So I always, experimented with different concepts that I would think of in my room.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so my little Essence magazines, it's a start. I think you finished it off. That's super cool.
And of course, my heartthrobs. I had to have my heartthrobs.
Really? Like who?
Tom Cruise, Michael Jackson. Yeah. So.
I think I like words. And so I had a lot of lyrics, like I would write them out and I would put them all over the wall. Lots of words. Any quotes from books I was reading.
You're so verbal.
That was me.
I love it.
Yeah. Words all over the place. Okay. So before we get into our Q&A portion, which is why we are here today, we want to kind of get to know you a little bit better, because we know that it's so important that before you take directions, you want to make sure you're not taking directions from someone who is lost. And we believe that AunTea Kristi is not lost. She is grounded, but we want to get to know a little bit more about you. Okay, so you're from...
Originally Dallas, Texas.
Dallas, Texas.
But by way of many other places, my father was an executive with R.J. Reynolds Tobacco.
Okay.
So he was a corporate guy, so we had to move around. Every time he would climb the ladder, we would move to a new city. So Dallas is home. That's where all of our extended family is. But we moved to St. Louis, to Maryland, outside of Philadelphia on the main line, New York, Long Island, and then we moved here when I was 13.
Okay, so you if you came to DC around that age, it was almost starting to get difficult in the 90s here.
It was popping.
It was popping, yes, but it was also. I remember the crime was getting really bad in the 90s because I know
was the crack era,
the crack wars and stuff. And I remember my parents, it was like a demarcation. We used to be in Anacostia a lot, but there was this point where they were like, we just stayed home a lot more, and I was just like, what's the problem? Why can't we? Yeah, I remember that.
Well, back then it was in pockets. Like now, the issue with crime in DC now is that there's no safe place anymore. It's all over the place. You can be anywhere. Georgetown, Northwest, can be anywhere. Back then, it was pretty much relegated to Southeast and Anacostia, unfortunately.
Yep.
So,
yep. And that's where we were. So it was a trip, but that's why I read so much. Yeah. That's why I was at the library so much. Okay, so as a teen, what was life like for you? Were you responsible for a lot of things? Did you have to...
Life as a teen for me was pretty exciting for a number of reasons. Number one, we had just moved here. And it was an exciting experience for me because I was coming from, I'd always been the only Black kid in all of my neighborhoods and my schools. I went to, very good private schools in these exclusive communities. And I was always like one of very few or the only Black person, boy or girl. And then we moved here in the 80s when DC was still Chocolate City.
Yes.
And that was quite exciting for me. And then also my parents and my big sisters were also in exciting periods of their lives. My father had, my mom and dad had arrived in terms of their careers and the things that they were doing. So I was really caught up in a whirlwind of excitement as a member of our family.
Love that.
Everybody was shining. And I had a chance to kind of get to know my culture in a way that I had not before. And then it was just an exciting time in the world.
Yeah.
A lot of icons, people doing exciting things musically and in the arts and creatively. So I was very excited.
Okay, so where was high school? What high school did you go to?
I went to Lee High School in Northern Virginia.
Okay. Was that co-ed?
Yeah.
It was like a big school?
No, I wouldn't say it was big. It was kind of, pretty average. I don't know what the numbers were. Okay. But in terms of the Black student population, I do remember that number. It was only like 40 of us across all 4 classes.
Oh, wow.
So even though I wasn't the only, it still wasn't a whole lot.
Yeah, but it's still, I understand that difference. I was in a similar situation. So, okay, that 10%, or 8-10% made a difference to me. It was a difference for me going from, I was in school at St. Agnes in Virginia, which was like hardly any, maybe I was 4 of us in my class, and then going to visitation, not much different, but now you're at 10%. It made a difference to me.
It made a difference in a positive way?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I felt like, I just felt a little bit more maybe seen. Maybe it was just a better lunch hour. I don't know. It just felt like.
Well, for me, it was actually negative. I'll be quite honest with you. Like I said, I got a chance to learn more about my culture, and that included some of the negative parts of it.
Yeah.
So although I was leading this very exciting life outside of school with my parents and riding high, living a certain jet set lifestyle with my family, but in school and learning how to navigate and deal with the Black children and my peers in school, that was kind of rough because I was very different. And unfortunately, a lot of Black people, and specifically Black kids at that age that don't have the maturity to understand or have a global understanding, they're not very accepting when you don't fit the stereotype of what they think Black is.
Yes.
I didn't talk Black. I didn't look what they thought Black looked like. I didn't dress like that. I didn't, nothing about me said Black to them. So it made me a bit of a target in a way.
Yeah.
So I had to be really kind of strong to not let that, bother or hinder me in any way.
Okay, so did you have siblings there to help you navigate that?
My siblings are considerably older than I am.
Okay.
My next sister is 8 years older, and then the sister above her is 13 years older. So actually, my freshman year in high school, my oldest sister got married. So
they weren't
she
there.
was starting
No,
and she lived in Richmond. And then my middle sister, Erica, she was pop dipping and spinning all around the city, being a hot girl on the scene. So she had her own life, She was an amazing hairstylist and just beautiful girl doing her thing as a young woman in the city.
Yeah.
So, so I pretty much was kind of on my own with it.
Okay. That's interesting. I'm sorry you had to go through that. But being able to navigate the bullying, was it like physical or psychological?
A little both. Well, the thing is, the interesting thing about it is it taught me a valuable lesson because I was actually just coming from an experience in Long Island where I was being bullied by white kids.
Oh, okay. So
it was
you
my
could
first.
See that it was
it kind of balanced out. I think that at that age, it could have been a point where I generalized all white people because of how I'd been treated in Long Island. I mean, I was terribly bullied. I got spit on, called every type of NB, every type of N-word. And it was very hostile and violent, so much that I had to sit in the front of the bus to be protected. And they spit on me in school before I had to take a very important math test.
Oh, my God.
But guess what? I had to go to the bathroom, wipe that spit off, and go and perform. So I want the kids to understand that unfortunate things may happen, but you let that stay on the outside of you, not the inside of you, and it doesn't define who you are.
Right.
Bad things are going to happen. It's part of life. But as long as you have your own constitution about who you are and what you represent, you can get beyond it and through it. So after having that experience, and I told my dad, Daddy, get us out of here. We only stayed there 9 months, but it was so intense. My dad got transferred. That's how we ended up coming to D.C.
Okay.
So we get here, and I'm all happy because we moved here during the summer, and I see all these beautiful Black people in D.C.
Yeah.
I start school thinking it's going to be the same experience, and here we go again with the bullying, but this time it's the Black girls. They didn't like me because of what I mentioned before about not fitting a Black monolith they subscribe to, that they think we are. And then also the typical little petty girl stuff. I was a fair-skinned girl with long, thick hair and pretty and came from affluence and all that. And that just...
Was not the ticket? Was that not the ticket?
No. And I was Denise Huxtable to them.
I see. Okay. So who did you reach out to? This is a tough time. Who provided you that anchor support? Was it mom or parents?
I don't know if it's just my personal style of, I'm very insular. I've never really relied on other people or outside things to kind of get me through, mainly because I just didn't have that. I didn't have the luxury of that a lot because I was always the new girl because we moved around so much.
Yeah.
So I had to really be self-reliant, which is a very important quality to have.
Okay.
I think the less you rely on other people, the better you are.
I think that's true.
Having a support system is great, don't get me wrong. But, the more you rely on something outward, the more opportunities you will have to be disappointed and let down.
I think that's true.
And be subject to those other people's, belief systems and value systems that may not align with what you need yours to be.
Yeah.
So I really I was kind of tough because I was so used to being the new girl and, doing things on my own.
That's so interesting.
So I just really kind of relied on, what I did rely on was my family value, what we stood for as a family.
Right. Okay.
That's what I had to lean on.
Yep.
What was I about? It wasn't even about them. What do I represent? What is the Riggs name? What is my brand?
Right.
Even before I knew what brand it was.
Okay.
What's my brand?
Yeah.
And I just, that's what I put forward.
Okay, I can understand that. That was definitely the Terrell. This Terrells do this, Terrells do that. I get that. I was a loner, so I was alone a lot. My parents worked all the time, so and we were told to be like, if we weren't in school, we were in some place because we needed to be like busy or whatever they wanted us to do. So I was constantly with a book. That was my life.
Well, I was constantly with a craft.
And you were constantly
I was always making something, creating something.
Right.
And then honestly, I have to give my older sister credit, the one who was still in the area at the time, Erica, my middle sister. She really did, even though I didn't necessarily go to her with any issues or problems, but she kept a hold of me in a way, even though she was older.
Yeah.
I was her kid sister that she didn't mind having around. So she took me along. She said, "You're a cool kid. Go put on an outfit. Let's go." And she would take me to nightclubs because she was my babysitter. My parents had to travel a lot with my father's job, you know? So she was my my babysitter when they would go out of town. And as I said, she was doing her thing. She didn't want to stay at home babysitting her kid sister on a Friday or Saturday.
Oh, why?
So she'd be like, "You know what? Put on an outfit. Let's go." And because she had such a great reputation and people trusted her, they would let me into clubs. And she never had to worry about me trying to drink or talk to anybody.
Okay.
I would just dance all night.
So you had like this life outside of school.
I did, and that's why.
And I think that,
Yeah, well, that's why when they would try to give me a hard time, I'd be like, "Please, you don't know who I am."
Exactly.
You do know who I am. That's why you're mad, but you really don't have an idea who I am out here in these streets.
Right.
I'm going places.
I see.
This is just a stepping stone.
Love it. That's how celebrities, I feel like, think when they're younger.
Listen, I was in my own video.
Okay.
You couldn't tell me I wasn't. I was in my own video.
Okay. Well, now we're going to move into our Q&A portion. I feel like, don't we know Auntie Kristi? I feel like we know you now. I feel like we have an understanding. We feel confident that we can ask you some real questions.
Sure.
Now, who are we dedicating this episode to?
I'm going to dedicate this episode to my nieces, and my nephews. I have my niece Dylan, who's 19. I have a great niece, Brooklyn, who is 4. I have a nephew, Kyle, who's 27 or 8. And then I have a nephew, Dustin, who's 35.
My goodness.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Wonderful. Well, thank you. We're going to dedicate this episode to...
And to all of my adopted nieces and nephews, too, that call me Auntie Kristi.
Okay. Yes. All right. Here's the first question. I just broke up with my boyfriend. How do I get over this breakup? What do you do to get over a breakup?
What did I do then? Because I actually was, I don't know if I was just trying to mimic, my parents have been married for 63 years. So I come from a foundation of seeing a great example of partnership.
Yeah.
So that was my example. So, I've always been kind of a great girlfriend and have these long-lasting relationships. So as soon as we moved to this area, I had like a boyfriend right away. And, we were together for like the entire, year, what have you. But then he broke up with me for this girl who was pretending to be my bestie. She even borrowed my sweater. God. Okay. She went after my boyfriend in my sweater that I loaned her. Oh, and he chose to be with her. Yeah, this chick named Erica Salaz. If you're out there, I still got something to say to you. But anyway, this little Salvadorian chick. And so he went for her because she was putting out and I wasn't. So it was very hurtful to be betrayed that way.
Yeah.
But again, I knew I'm going places. I'm going somewhere. So if you can't see the value in me and what you had, and you're just going for the low-hanging fruit, you're going to regret that.
Oh, my goodness. This was high school?
Actually, no, 8th grade.
Good grief.
Yeah, so... No, I told him, I was like, you're going to regret this. Wait till we get to high school. I'm going to show you something. And so we get to high school, and I was a star field hockey player, president of my class, president of every club you could name. I was a standout, student liaison to the PTA, all these things. Yeah. And all he could do, he couldn't carry my water. All he could do is say hello to me from a distance. So the best revenge and the best advice I would give to any person, specifically a young woman, is to understand that living well and achievement is the sweetest revenge.
I love that.
So you got to
It's not even about them.
No. You got to if they couldn't see the value in you, then you just get right back into you, get on path with whatever your mission is, and give them a reason to feel sorry about it.
Oof.
Yep. Let them go be with Lil Ugly.
Okay, I love that answer.
Don't you dare. Don't you maybe cry for a day. Give yourself 48 hours to be sad, because it is hurtful.
Yeah.
Because, in addition to him being your boyfriend, I'm sure he's your friend.
Mm-hmm.
So it can be like losing a best friend. I get it. But give yourself maybe one good weekend to be sad, eat your ice cream, watch your sad movies, whatever you need to do, and then dust yourself off and get into it. And don't you dare let him see you looking sad. Mm-mm. Don't you dare call. I don't care what you have to do. Block his number. Do not call him.
So that would mean usually I will block them calls, and I'm not following them on social media. If it was now, I would block that so I wouldn't see them at all, because I think that is just...
I let them still see me.
Yes,
I may not want to see them.
You don't want to see them.
I let them see me so that...
Yeah, right. Let them see you, but don't follow what they're doing and all that.
No. That's just like feeding yourself a little bit of agony every day.
Right.
It's a diet of agony and pain.
No, right. Okay. I love that answer. Thank you. I'm feeling already inspired to do better.
Serious. I mean it.
Okay, here's another question. So this sugar is saying that she says, why am I so aggressive? Why can't I just let things go? So we don't know her. We don't know her personality. I'm just going to sort of take from this that maybe she's saying that maybe she lets things get to her. Maybe she's not able to stop having her mind go over and over things that have happened that have been maybe bad or good or whatever.
Maybe. I can actually kind of read it as, I think that why can't, instead of, you have to pick your battles.
Yeah.
And instead of letting battles pass her by, she has to meet it every time and respond, be combative, or she has to engage every time when something either irritates her or she feels somehow affronted or insulted. Why can't she just let it roll off her back and keep it moving?
Right.
That's how I kind of read it.
Okay.
And and really it's about, you need to understand how valuable your energy is in this life. That's one of the most important lessons that you can learn. Your energy is one of your most precious resources, and you don't want to waste it even at a young age. You don't want to waste it on things that are not going to serve you and contribute to your success at whatever level you're on. Yeah. So don't let yourself get thrown off your game, getting distracted by having tantrums and anger fits over things that don't sweat the small stuff.
Right, the small stuff.
What does it mean at the end of the day? Mm-hmm. So what? Somebody doesn't like your shoes. Okay, whatever. Somebody doesn't want to be your friend. Okay, sorry for you. Somebody, whatever it could be, you kind of, let that be people's prerogatives and keep it moving.
It's true, because these days you don't really know what other people are dealing with. Some people take rejection. They take little statements. They're looking for a reason to fight. And
they want to mess with you.
Yeah, and you sort of have a lot, like my mom would say, you have a lot to lose. Mm-hmm. You got a whole future ahead of you. You already know what you want to do. Don't let people kind of sidetrack you, put you on a different path. Mm-hmm. That's really what it does. It adjusts your trajectory.
It certainly does.
It's like a compass. It shifts your focus. And
it shifts your whole energy for that hour, that day. I don't know how long it takes you to recover, but you have to learn how to be. Things may upset you. Things upset me, but I have to let it roll because I'm on a mission. I'm on a mission, so I can't let that sidetrack me or shift my energy, because my energy is my magic, and so you can't let yourself get thrown off.
Love that. Thank you. Mm-hmm. Okay, next question: how can I open myself up to the world and feel love for myself? So how can I maybe love myself, to be more confident, open myself up to new things?
Okay.
It's a tough one, because it's 3 questions in one. Yeah,
I'm trying to think of how to simplify this for the sake of time, but let's just take the confidence piece first, okay?
Okay.
Personally, I am a personality that came into the world pretty self-assured. Mm-hmm. I think the confidence was fostered and nurtured by my family, mostly by my parents, and definitely by my mother. And not to discount my father, but mothers tend to be our primary caretakers, and they're in our ear and in our psyches in a way.
Our ear.
They're in our ear.
That is so true.
As they bathe us in the evening, as they dress us in the morning for school, at lunchtime, while cooking dinner, my mother was constantly reaffirming how special, how beautiful, how smart that I was. Mm-hmm. And I'd say that every member of my family had a hand in that, but it was really, that confidence that was fostered by them.
Yeah.
But at a certain point, you have to, it's an inside job. Confidence, happiness, all the essential things that you need in life to truly be successful as an individual, as a spiritual being in any way. It's all up to you.
Yeah.
You can't look at the world. You can't look at, please don't look at the world, because the world's going to give you, especially if you're a little girl of color, the world's going to tell you all types of things that are going to be crushing to you. So you have to fortify yourself on the inside so that when those negative messages come from friends or so-called friends or people or boys or an employer that you're so, assured in yourself and you are so confident in what you are, who you are and what you're made of, that although you may be temporarily disappointed, you can, like I said, recover and go forward. And when you have that sort of when you're loving on yourself in that way, you're going to want to explore new things because you're going to want to see, what new things make you happy. You're going to be excited to take in things that will enrich your life.
And that's kind of what we hope you're doing in high school, looking for the things that bring you joy. If you're figuring out that, you like to craft, or you're the artist, or if you're the writer, you like to read books, you like to be transported to places with your imagination. It's helpful because you have to kind of have your own imaginary box full of things.
It's your own
bring
space.
You joy.
Yeah. It's your own space. And it's never too early because those very things that I was working on, excuse me, just getting over a cold. But those very things that I was working on the weekends, because my mom didn't let me go to parties or sleepovers a whole lot. Right. She really didn't. She wasn't into it. All. She wasn't into it. And I don't remember being too disappointed about not going. I was really okay with my alone time. Yeah. And I was okay with being with my family. Yeah. We're very close. Yeah. So, but on the weekends, instead of going to parties and friends' houses and stuff, I would take on new projects every weekend and learn. So that those skills that I was honing then, those are the very things that make me stand out now as a creative professional.
Exactly. I think I remember I had the chicken pox. Mom was like, write them a letter. So I would sat there and, that's the kind of stuff I'm writing a letter to the chicken pox.
That's hilarious.
And it was like quoting.
Writing the chicken pox a letter.
Writing the chicken pox a letter.
That's so funny.
That's the kind of stuff we were doing. So I was always the wordsmith, and I think that's where I am now.
You are.
This is where I am now. So, Auntie Kristi, we want to thank you for sharing your tea with us. Growing up in D.C. is hard. But Sugar, you don't have to do it alone. Join us every week for reliable answers to your questions. I'm Auntie M, Director of the High Tea Society. You can DM me at High Tea Society INC. We have the tea to help girls succeed, tools for excellence and achievement.
Do you want to tell them about the Instagram page in case they need words of encouragement? I'm always
go ahead.
Posting.
Please.
So you guys, I have an IG page called The Cool Aunt, and it's the THE Cool Aunt. So I'm always putting up memes that are funny, words of advice for you, things that I would like for any of the young people in my life to know going forward, tools that may be useful to you.
Hooray. Thank you for sharing that. Until next time.
Thanks for having me. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
You've been listening to Ask Your Auntie with your host, Marisa Terrell, Esquire. The transition from girlhood to womanhood can be difficult without guidance. We have the tea to help girls succeed. When you can't ask your mom or G-Ma, ask your auntie.